I'm very happy with whatever has happened on the OTT for me. Uri is a feature film. Avrodh has got about 4.5 hours to tell you the entire story. Producers have the liberty to take whoever they want, to cast whoever they want.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Very well, very well.
First of all, congratulations on the success of Paatal Lok. You were the only common link between Sacred Games and Paatal Lok. So, from a corrupt cop to a journalist with mixed ethics, how do you see the massive success of yours on OTT? You're a popular
Wonderful.
name.
Well, wonderful. I'm happy that the audiences have been liking my performances, and I think right from Sacred Games on till now, it's been a wonderful journey. Also covering various kinds of characters. So it was Sacred Games, and then it was Final Call, where I play something else. Then it was Taj Mahal, which is again something else. So each of them had a very distinct characteristic that I played. And yes, and in Paatal Lok again, it's been a very, very overwhelming response. I'm very happy with whatever has happened on the OTT for me. Really glad.
Avrodh. How is it going to be different from Uri and Zero Dark 30? How is it going to be different?
Well, Zero Dark 30 is a very, very different film, but Uri um, is a feature film which had a limited amount of time, which means 1.5 to 2 hours to tell its story. Avrodh has got about 4.5 hours to tell you the entire story, which means we have more time for many more details that you have never known till now. It's also based on a written book, which is called India's Most Fearless by Shiv Arur and Rahul Singh. So it's based on authentic facts, facts that have been taken from the armed forces in research and collaboration with them. So it's a lot of authenticity that you will get to see and a lot of details. It's not about the attack only. It's also about what happened before the attack. All the planning, the psyche, the kinds of departments that decision making goes through. There's a state policy, there's a government intelligence, there's the armed forces. There are so many agencies that combine together or collaborate to be able to take one decision for the national security. So all these details you will get to see, many, many more things which you haven't seen, which is why Avrodh becomes slightly different. Luckily, it's not a feature film, it's a web series, so we have that kind of space and time. And you'll also get to see each character's arc in many more details that you haven't seen earlier. So all the characters you've seen in the film, now you'll be seeing them in a detailed performance, much more detailed.
Okay, so is your character inspired from our own NSA? You are playing an NSA in the show?
No, it's been inspired. I won't say it's inspired, but the research was done on the previous NSAs, right from Mr. Ajit Doval, who was the NSA at that time in 2016, and then the ones who preceded him. So one had to read up, one had to research on that. What the focus was not on people who've already been NSAs, but the focus was on the position of the NSA. It's a very defined, highly responsible position in the government. And you have to know how to play that. You can't just play it by the way you think it is. There are authentic facts towards it. There is an integrity with which you have to play it. There's an honesty with which you have to play this. It's a very, very responsible position. It's close to the Prime Minister and takes all the decisions of national security. So it's a huge burden. That's what my focus was when I was performing. And to be able to do that, one had to read up all the previous NSAs, look at their YouTube interviews, look at their speeches, look at their write-ups in the newspapers, whatever articles they've written. So when you read all that, you get a psyche, you get their mindset, you get the way they thought, and that's what you begin to put together and process all this information. And then from there, you create Shailesh Malviya. It's a very different character that you create, but it has got all the elements of all these things.
Okay, sir, you had a major role in Detective Byomkesh Bakshi, and it has Sushant as the protagonist. So, do you think the film did not get its due? What do you have to say about it?
That's a very different thing, Ruchi. I think Byomkesh is over now. We are talking more of Avrodh. But just so that I want to answer this question very briefly, though, because it's not part of our conversation. Uh, I don't know whether it did well or not, and what is the definition of doing well or not. If you're talking only of commercial success, well, yes, it did not do commercially as well. But if you're talking of a great film, I think it was a very brilliantly made film. Very, very good film by Dibakar Banerjee, and some excellent performances over there by each character. All the character graphs very, very well etched out. It did complete justice to this entire legend called Byomkesh Pakshi, which is so popular in Bengal. Why it didn't do well, you just don't know. These are things you can't predict. You can't even talk about even after the film is over, because nothing in it was wrong. So maybe at that point of time, maybe the audiences were not looking for something like that, were not interested in something like that, or that was not what they were wanting to come and see and spend 2 hours on. So you just can't say what went wrong, because the film, there's nothing wrong in the film. There's nothing wrong in the performances, not at all. Otherwise, you can pinpoint and say, okay, the acting was bad or the direction was bad. So nothing of this sort. Every department was fantastic.
Okay, sir. Sir, you have been a name in theater, and you give training in acting as well. What do you think about the star kids getting more opportunities than talented outsiders in Bollywood?
I don't think much about it. I don't give it much thought, because my thought is more about creating more talents when I'm doing workshops. I want more and more youngsters to come and train with a craft. The fact that star kids are getting more work than the others, again, you don't know why. There's no way you can point out to say that, would you call this, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it nepotism or whatever. I don't use those words. I don't prefer using them, because you don't know what the reality is. Why they might be using or taking star kids is maybe there's an audience that likes to see them. I don't know. Or maybe they do good business. They would do proper business or more business than what the others would do. You don't know what the reasons are. You see, filmmaking is not a government organization. It's private. Producers have the liberty to take whoever they want, to cast whoever they want. You can't point a finger at them. You can't file a case against them saying, why did you take your star kid or whatever? No, that's their choice why they want to do it. And if everybody wants to be a part of this, then there are many ways to do it than to just fight with them or to raise slogans or raise voices. Raise your talent instead. Work in a way that there is no way that you can be eliminated. Make yourself absolutely so powerful and so good as an actor that whether it's a commercial film or a parallel cinema, you will always be invited to be a part of it. I believe in that completely. I don't think it's like reservations. You can't argue on those things. You just have to make yourself very, very good. And you'll have to bear the fact that if certain producers are making certain films or financiers, and if their children are there, they would rather prefer that than taking anybody else. So these are all things that it's a very personal decision. I don't think we can raise. But yes, having said this, I will obviously say that two things I will say. One is, if you're only going to be sticking to star kids all the time, you'll never be able to create huge amount of cinema with great talent. You will definitely lose out on talent, because that'd be a very self-centered way to make the film industry grow up. That's like in politics. If just one family rules, then you'll never have great politics. You have to have others coming in. The same thing happens in filmmaking. The second thing is, the OTT platform has proved to you that there are huge amount of so-called outsiders who've come in here and they've showcased their amazing talents. OTT is not showcasing star kids, it's showcasing amazing amount of talent. And all people who've come from outside Mumbai or who do not have their parents who are in the film fraternity. They are completely strangers over here and such amazing talent, not just actors, directors, writers, costume designers, art directors, everybody. And OTT is showing you that. Look at the content, look at the quality, and look at the talent. So I don't think we should point at the star kid as well. That's very unfair. Maybe there are so many star kids who are so good, but because of the whole game of nepotism, they are being blamed. Each one of them is being blamed. Again, that's unfair. There are so many of them who are very, very good, and they should be given that chance to come up. Just because they're a star kid, you don't sideline them. That's also not there. Yeah, I don't think I can speak more on this. It's a very sensitive topic.
Okay, so do you see the entertainment industry evolving for the better after all this debate is over?
Or debate about all these things that that you spoke about? I don't know. No idea. I think they will coexist together. I don't think it will be a better place or whatever. We will always coexist, and there will be more and more space. Like I said, OTT is creating that space. It's showcasing to the producers that there are many outsiders who are amazing talents. Please take them, please work with them. It'll happen.
Okay, sir. Sir, this is my last question. What keeps you busy during at home right now? You are enjoying all the success on OTT. So what keeps you busy at home, indoors, not on a
Uh,
set?
many things. I think right from Paatal Lok, from the time the lockdown began, we were extremely busy with the promotions of Paatal Lok because we can't go to studios and record interviews. We had to do multiple amount of recordings at home. I remember recording continuously through the days in those days when we were promoting Paatal Lok, and just when Paatal Lok got over, Avrodh came out. So we've been again recording interviews, recording shows, and so that's been a major part of the day. The promotions. Also, we are reading a lot of scripts for forthcoming projects, so that takes up a lot of time. There's a lot of theater performances that I'm doing online for a lot of major organizations in the country. They are showcasing, they're making some kinds of documentaries or some kinds of showcase of theater performances, and I'm being part of that. So yes, it's the whole day goes away in performance. In it's like a working day. I don't think there is a day where, and we do our workouts and whatever is required for the actor. We are not just sitting. So it's a busy day. Every day is a busy day. It does not seem, the only difference is maybe I'm sitting at home and I'm not traveling so much to the shoot or whatever. Otherwise, it's like any other day. In fact, I just went for a shoot day before yesterday, 2 days ago. Sorry, yes, for Avrodh promo. I can't tell you what it was. You'll get to see very soon. But I actually went out for my first shoot after about 3.5 months. So yeah, and mostly what occupies my mind is what changes should we all now bring about within us. I think that's occupying a very major part of my mind. Once this gets over, do we go back the same way that we were? Do we go back to the same lifestyle? Or are we looking at some change within each one of us? I think this has happened. This pause has happened because we need to rethink. I'm extremely clear on this. It's not about the pandemic. It's a natural pause. It's nature's pause. And you have to think. All of us have to think, how do we now behave with nature? How do we now behave with society? How do we now behave with ourselves? Our behavior has landed up with all these things, all the mess that we are in today. So we will have to find a way of living, have to find more collaboration with the universe and the planet, and live more cohesively than just living for ourselves.
Okay, sir. So should we be looking forward to something else also after Avrodh? Anything big coming up?
Oh yes, oh yes. There are projects which I've already shot for, and some of them I'm already shooting for, and some of them where I've signed the contract, but we've not started shooting. So they're all in the pipeline. The next one, immediate one, will be a feature film called Freedom by Devaka Banerjee. That's coming up immediately on Netflix. And then there is also a Hollywood web series. I can't talk much about that. That's a very interesting project I'm looking forward to. We've begun work on that already, and likewise there are others that we've signed, but the shoot has not begun, so they will all begin after the pandemic gets over.